switch over right about now. Let's see. Okay. All right. All right. Let's end this. Close that so that's not running. All right. Well, hello. Welcome to the Jose Hall Show, where nothing is off the table and everything is up for discussion. Now, hey, how's it going? Good to see you here. I'm glad that you're here. I hope your day is going well. I hope everything that y'all wanted for the day happened, right? Now, as you can tell from the title, we're going to talk about a divided country, right? And what it means to us, right? Say, for instance, if I was to ask you, what's up, Xavier? Yeah, so if I was to ask you, the country is divided, what does it mean to you? What would your response be? Right? So, I'm wondering, do you believe that this country is divided? Do you believe that that we are getting so far apart from each other that we cannot um, make up for the lost space that's between us? Because sometimes when we look at the different things that are going on in the world and looking at what's going on in the United States, you have to start to wonder, like, where's this country headed? So I've told people before that I believe this country's headed for a civil war if we don't get ahead of this. If we don't get ahead of this divide that we're in, then we're headed for another civil war. But the thing is that what is dividing us? Is it race? Is it politics? Is it money? Is it cultural backgrounds? What is it? See, I do have to say this. One thing is, whatever's dividing us, in most cases, cannot be seen by the naked eye. Do you remember whenever they were going to war overseas and they kept saying they're fighting these the ISIS or fighting whoever, right? And they always say that we're fighting terrorism and all this other stuff, right? And we keep saying that it's not the people, it's their ideals that they're fighting against. It's their thought process. It's how they think, how they view the world, how they view the country, how they view each other. Now, that same incidence is going on here in the United States. Well, we're fighting against each other. We're fighting against our thoughts and our mindsets and the way we're brought up and the way that we portray ourselves onto others. Now, I understand that we are all different, right? I'm different from you, you are different from me, and that's what makes us. But sometimes what happens is we start to divide ourselves based on what we see, right? Sometimes we divide ourselves by the color that we see, by the actions in which we see, or sometimes in some cases by the person that we represent, right? If we represent one president over the other president, it kind of divides us in that view as well. Now, time and time has come around where it shows that the politicians use this momentum to kind of keep it going in their favor, right? By pointing out the flaws in the other side, right? And both sides do it to each other on a regular basis. See, but what happens is now with the technology age that we're in, everything is more out there and it's faster to get a response to whatever is going on. Nothing is hidden anymore. You cannot really say anything because they keep a record of everything, right? Everything is meant to be thrown back at you at a later date. If you were doing something off the wall today, it may be thrown back in your face 10 years from now, right? I feel like matters who in office, the hood says the same. Look, we like to put the blame on the president, right? A lot of people like to put the blame on the president. We can blame Trump, we can blame Obama, we can blame Bush, we can blame Clinton, we can blame the other Bush, we can blame, hell, we go all the way back to, we can blame George Washington, and we can blame everybody. You have to understand that the president is just the face. He's the face of the collective, right? Now, I understand that we look at him at a higher standard, right? What we expect from him. But sometimes I ask myself, and I've asked others, and where do we draw the line between what we expect from our presidents and what do we really expect out of each other? Can we really expect our president and our politicians to act any different than we do? If you were given the same opportunity to do what they're doing, right? If you would be in office or if you would be as a president, could you see yourself getting everyone on agreement with you? Could you convince everyone in the United States that you are the right person for everybody? And the answer is no, regardless of what it is. Regardless of your complexion, regardless of your beliefs, regardless of your political stance, right? I don't believe that I could go out and run for president and everybody agree with me, that everyone will like me, right? But there's a saying back in the day, right, when I was growing up, is it doesn't matter who becomes president. Things will always be the same because whoever's controlling the president controls the world, right? So, for instance, look at all the years before Trump. Let's take Trump out of the factor, right? Hell, let's take Obama out of the factor, right? Because those two are the two main names talked about because they're one after the other. Now, if you look at Bush and you look at Clinton and everyone else, what are some of the same topics that they were all fighting against? Poverty, border control, terrorism, whatever the case may be, they all had the same fights. The difference is about how they went about achieving those things. But at the same time, everyone has their own alternative motive in which makes them do what they're doing, right? So, say for instance, I seen a article or a little thing, a video or something like that, right? That was saying there is a mathematical equation or something like that that determines on rather if there's peace in the Middle East or if there's not, right? So they say that if we get a president who is pro Israel and the other countries are playing ball as well, then everything's peaceful. Then if you get another president who is against Israel or against certain types of stuff, then there's war in the Middle East. But you have to ask yourself, like, why do we care what goes on overseas, right? And see, so for instance, that could divide us. Because some of us are concerned about what goes on in other countries and some of us don't. There's some of us who believe in the constitutional rights, and there's some of us that don't. Now, so when I say that we believe in your constitutional right, every amendment is just as important as the next. And then other people are saying, well, they wrote this hundreds of years ago. What difference does it make? This doesn't matter to us now. This doesn't count. We don't need this. So then we're divided in that sense of an aspect, right? Every time we look back and we sit there and we really think about what's really dividing us, and it's not necessarily the way we look. As much as the Democrats would like to say, take care of your own backyard. Hell yeah. Look, I can't tell you how to treat your backyard if my backyard looks worse than yours. But what I'm saying is, but it's very concerning how like we actually fight amongst each other about our views, right? And we all feel just as strongly to each other for our views, right? We all support our views. We all want to fight for our views. But the problem is that when you're breaking it down, you're going, man, we all want the same shit, right? We all want the same thing, and I understand that we did come from a time of racism, and racism is still going on. Not everybody likes everybody, but where do we say that it's not necessarily racism that's the problem anymore? As much as the left would like to say that it is, that it's all about race, but really, what is everyone fighting over? Everybody's fighting over your thought process. Everybody's fighting over your emotions. Everyone's fighting over your views. And so that means that they're not really fighting over what you look like. They're worried more about what you think. Right? See, because if they can get you to change your mind, they can get you to vote in their favor or different things like that, right? Because look at when I was talking all these other topics the other day, what I can point out is that regardless if I'm pro this or pro that, there's always going to be someone that's anti whatever I am. Now, I heard that everything went well in Virginia, right? I heard that everything went well in Virginia, no major incidents. I don't know if there was no incidents at all, but they said there was no major incidents. But when I posted that video or that news article on Facebook, I said, hey, this is how Civil War started, by one trying to force the unarmed, like they unarmed the people that were supposed to be coming there. You weren't allowed to have weapons there or whatever, right? And from whatever I'd seen, they said that was technically illegal. The governor was not in legal reason to do what he did. And so, but when they were saying that they were going to have Antifa there, they were going to have all these other organizations there, they're going to have the National Guard there, and all that was just increasing the tension amongst each other. See, because when everyone's upset and everyone's angry, you start to act irrational. It's just human nature. That human nature says that when you start to get angry, you tend to get violent. When you get violent, you start to do things that you either would regret later down the line or not. But what I'm saying is that kind of stuff that was going on in Virginia was a divide in one view or the other. So it wasn't necessarily saying, oh, hey, this particular race or that particular race is going to come over here and act a fool. No, they said pro-gun owners are going to come out here and they're going to be, having their guns all at this protest or whatever for lobby day. Or they're going to have these anti-gun people there. And what happens is you get two different views together. They tend to fight. It's human nature. But they escalate it. They're constantly escalating it. I told somebody that the reason why they keep us in this state of anger and outrage is to get us talking and acting in ways that we would normally not act. Because they're playing with our minds. They're trying to get us to fight amongst each other. Because really, when we're looking at the news, right, and we're trying to keep up with what's going on in the world, you find out sometime down the line that they've been working on some secret deal or secret this or secret that, and nobody knows that this law passed or this bill passed because they were too busy showing you what they wanted to show you. But look, I've always looked at everyone the same, right? Regardless if you're black, white, Hispanic, Chinese, whatever, right? I always looked at everyone the same because I believe that it is not the way that you look, it's the way that you act. It's the way that you handle yourself, right? Because, it's weird. right? It's weird that I would look at you just because of the way you look. I think we can all get along. But what happens is if I start to say what I'm into and what I'm pro this and pro that, the person who disagrees with me starts to get all heated. They get all mad. They're like, oh, why? Why is this going? Why do you believe that? Why do you believe this? Why do you believe that? And then all of a sudden it turns into this argument and almost fuck me. Man. It turns into this fight over who's right and who's wrong. You know, why do we have to have right or wrong? Look, there are some things that are morally right and morally wrong. Right? That you know, morally you should keep your children. Right or wrong, if you kill them, that's still up to you, right? If you're having children and you decide to kill them or whatever, right? You get pregnant, you decide to have abortions and stuff like that. That's your right. Do whatever the hell you want. That's your business, right? But then at the same time, morally, that is wrong. Why are you doing that? That is a life. You're killing a life. Why do you want to? Why don't you want your seed to grow? I've seen people call them a parasite. I've seen people say that this life that's growing in a woman's stomach is a parasite feeding off of her. And I'm like, really? You look at your child as a parasite? Like you look at this thing that's growing inside you as a parasite, even though it's natural and it's supposed to happen? Like, it's weird. But so say if I'm against that, somebody else will say, no, it's their choice, it's their right, they let them do whatever they want. And then we start to fight about it. This country isn't divided by everything that's just about looks. You know, it's like I said, it's divided about the way we think. Now, I might say, man, fuck them people on the left, man. Fuck them people on the left. They don't make no damn sense. Whatever, right? And that would mean that I basically sectioned off everybody from the left, right? That means I do not want to associate with anybody from the left. Now, is that right or wrong? Well, in some cases, some people will say that's right. That's right. Don't associate with those people on the left because they're out of their damn minds. And then some people will say, no, you have to associate with the people on the left because those are people just like you are people. Look, I was listening to a story today on the way home, okay? And they were talking about the Jews, okay? Now, I don't know how you feel about the Jews. I don't know how anybody feels about the Jews. But when I was growing up, the only thing I knew about the Jews was two things. Three things. There's only three things I knew about the Jews. One, they helped kill Jesus. Two, they were enslaved during World War II, right? The Germans were killing them off, whatever, right? And three, they were really smart and very wealthy. Like they were good with money or whatever, right? And those are the three things that I only knew about Jews. I didn't know much about them, right? I didn't look at them as anything else. I thought they were just regular white people like everybody else. I don't know. That's the only ones I ever seen on TV. They would be white with those big old beards and those long things hanging down from their hats or whatever. Okay, so I don't know much about them. Okay, and as I started to get a little bit older and I hear this, whole white supremacy thing where they hate Jews or whatever, right? Because I didn't even know that was a thing until, what was that movie called? History X, I think it was. Or was it History X? American X? No, History. I think it was History X, right? Where they had that, where they do with the swastika and stuff like that, and they hate Jews or whatever. Look, I didn't even know that was a big deal or not. And so it's been on the rise, right? This hatred for the Jews and stuff like that. And so we got to a point where we got Donald Trump, right? And when they were doing all that anti-Semitic talk, they were like, oh, all this, that Trump's this white supremacist and he hates the Jews and stuff. And Trump was all like, hey, I have Jew friends and family. I think one of his kids is Jewish or whatever, right? mixed, because I think he was married to a Jew at once upon a time. I don't know, right? And so he's all like, no, I love the Jewish people, right? And then they were like, well, we need to do more for the Jews. We need to do more for the Jews. And then so he moves the embassy to Jerusalem and names it their capital or whatever, right? And people got upset, right? They're pissed off about this, right? Donald Trump, you're fucking wrong for this, whatever, right? The Jewish people, they loved it. They're all, thank you, Donald Trump. This is great. Then all of a sudden, it's still peaking up, right? This hatred for the Jewish people, and it keeps peaking up even higher. And then they're like, hey, we need to do something else. Well, Donald Trump signed into an executive order just recently about making sure that colleges cannot discriminate against Jews with this anti-Semitic speak or talk or whatever at the campuses, right? And the Jewish people were happy, right? They're like, hey, yeah, this and that. Well, then I heard the article, or I heard the guy speaking. He says, well, yeah, I mean, the Jewish people, they did like it, but it kind of makes it even more as if the Jews aren't really white, or they're not really part of the people, so they're like a different background and race and this and that. And so, it's kind of more like signaling them out and giving the white supremacists even more reason to attack them and stuff. And I'm like, really? I said, no matter what this man does, regardless, you say he needs to help the Jews, he goes and helps the Jews, and then you tell him, hey, no, that's wrong, you shouldn't have helped him. Then they're saying, oh, well, whatever, right? He can't fucking win. And unfortunately, that's just how it is with Donald Trump. Every time he does something that he thinks is right and we want him to do and fix and stuff like that, people just go back behind him and say, hey, no, he shouldn't have done this. He shouldn't have done that. And I remember, I think it was last year or whatever, right, when I was hearing everybody talk about that TDS, right? I didn't know that meant Trump derangement syndrome, right? And that shit is seriously going to be considered an actual disease. They're probably going to start giving out prescriptions of Xanax and different types of like medicine to calm these people down. Dang it. I can't think of the word. I don't know where it went. It was here. It left. Okay. but they're gonna give them these drugs to kind of play with their mind a little bit so they can cope on a regular basis. Like, I mean, how can one man interfere with your whole thought process, your whole ability to think rationally and to have conversations, right? I seen a video on... Oh, sorry, I found that funny. And like, it was up here, okay? It was there. I had it there and it, flew off, okay? But I seen this video on Facebook, okay? Because anytime I sleep through Facebook, you get all kinds of random shit too. And they're walking through the mean streets of California, and so they were walking through the mean streets of California, and they were asking people why Donald Trump should be impeached, right? First they said, hey, do you think Donald Trump should be impeached? Everybody's like, yes, he needs to go, yes. And then asked them all, why? I mean, he can't just keep getting away with doing the stuff he's doing. Oh, what kind of stuff is he doing? He's doing that stuff, with the phone call and that other stuff. And they're like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, you stupid son of bitches can't think for yourself. You can't even give a reasonable excuse of why you'd want this man out. Right? Now, obviously, he didn't do anything wrong to be impeached for. Right? He's not fucking underage girls in the Oval Office, right? And busting all over their dresses and having to give out speeches about not, having sexual relationships with them, right? Thank you. I knew it. Like I said, at least you knew. At least you knew what I was thinking. Cause, yeah, like I said, at least you knew. I was thinking of it. Oh man, I crack myself up sometimes. Okay, so all right, so but I mean, you can have a thought process of your own. Like you can't sit there and go like, "Hey, I don't think Donald Trump should." Like I can give reasons why I don't think Donald Trump should be president, and I'm a pro Donald Trump person, right? And so if I was pro Donald Trump and I'm saying, hey, I want Donald Trump to win, this and that, I'm supporting Donald Trump, but do I see flaws in certain things that I think he could be either not removed from office, but voted out of office, right? So, say for instance, if I was to say, oh, well, hey, look, Donald Trump, man, I don't like how he fucking just blasts everybody, right? He seems like an asshole. I mean, the way he talks to people, and how can we all talk? How can we expect that from our presidents and that, right? At least that's a view, right? And these people couldn't even think of not one thing. They couldn't even say that. They couldn't even say, hey, I don't like the way that he speaks to the citizens of the United States or to citizens of other countries. Okay. But see, people like me who like, shit, F them people, right? If it hurts your feelings, so what? Oh, freaking what? I can throw some dirt on it, okay? But that's only because I don't mind the way he talks. I think I don't know if he's just super smart or if he has a laid out plan that he wants to execute, right? Because sometimes when he sends things out on Twitter, and you start to ask yourself, why would he say that? Like, why would he say that? Nobody was even talking about that. Nobody was even talking about this. Nobody's talking about that. And then at the same time, people get to talking. You get to find out more information. People start to question it. And I swear he's doing that just to get everyone to look into stuff, right? Because I was telling somebody that about what was going on in Virginia, and the person asked me, says, well, can't the president just like get involved? Can't the president like go down there and be like, hey, governor, you're out of here. You can't do that kind of shit, right? You get the hell out of here. You fucking go back home and we'll let somebody else take over. And I go, well, no, they can't do that. You have to remember that your state is independent, okay? Every state is independent. They have their own laws and they have their own constitutional rights and stuff like that, right? And which is the benefit of living in whatever state you're living in, right? Now, I told him, I said, the president, yeah, I said he keeps in order the federal laws, right? Like, if something federally going on, if there's something to do with the country as a whole, then he's going to step in and address it then. Now, I understand that we want our president to do all this other stuff for us too, but we all have to remember too that it's not his obligation to take care of every single person in this country. As much as we would like him to be the face of the entire country, he's not a king. We don't have royalty here that rules over the country as one, and regardless, whatever he says is it, right? There's checks and balances, people wanting whatever they want, right? Now, that's why, like, I don't know, I was watching that and I was just kind of like, man, I'm just dumbfounded that these people can. I wouldn't even spoke to the guy. Like, if the guy would have walked up to me and said, hey, excuse me, sir. Yes. Do you think Donald Trump should be impeached? Oh, I'm not answering any questions, sorry. I am going home. Right? Like, I'm not answering any of your questions because, first of all, you should know that they're baiting you into this question, right? They're baiting you, and then they're like, hey, excuse me, Miss Cooper, do you think Donald Trump should be impeached? And then you're going, yeah, why are you asking me this? Am I going to end up having to argue with you about why he shouldn't, or am I going to try to look stupid by saying why he should? Which one are we going with? I don't know, right? Because you never know. You don't know the person who's asking you this question. This person could be baiting you into this whole big old argument, get you all going back and forth for their views or for their whatever, right? And then before you know it, you in this circle of people and y'all fighting over your beliefs and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll walk away. Like I don't care. Like you start asking me shit like that. Look, that'd be like asking me if I thought about switching my power company. Have you ever like been at the store and you're walking up to the grocery store and you know that the power company person's sitting outside and or whatever dish or cable or whatever, right? And they're like, excuse me, have you thought about switching your service? Or who do you have service with? And we just keep walking. You're like, they're not here. They're not here. If you just close your eyes, they'll disappear. Like it just keep walking. It's like if you had doors and windows, you would lock your doors and roll your windows up and just sit there and look in front of the wheel going, okay, look, just don't acknowledge them, okay? If you acknowledge them, they'll know that you're avoiding them. But they do that all the time, right? So they won't see me. Hey, look, man, they do that over here at the stores, right? Like we have power companies, these off-brand power companies, because here in Texas, you can compete for power source companies, right? Providers. So whoever you want to be your power provider, they're all out there. Like there's like 20 freaking power companies here in Houston alone. Okay, so they're always out at the store trying to get people to buy lights from them or whatever. I know in California there's only 2 energy providers in California. So they got one power company that runs the top half, I think, and one power company that runs the bottom half. There's only 2 power companies. There's no switching around. No one's allowed to go into California and debate like whatever, like or try to sell power, right? They have a monopoly. See, here we go again. We know. I know. But they have a monopoly on the power companies out there, right? Now, like I said, down here in Texas, you can see, you're gonna know all the words that I want to say. Is trust me, I'll get the first half going, and then I'll just end up having to stop because it just I get tongue tied on stupid shit. So, but they have that going on in California, and it's proven to be a problem, right? Look at look how the fires and the destruction from their power lines failing or whatever, right? And if people had the opportunity to cut their service, they would cut their service and they would move on from them, and they would have to do better and they would have to compete with this competitor. But see, down here in Texas, we have a single provider, right, that does all the power lines, all the work for all the different power companies. Sorry. Okay, so they do all the work for all the power companies. So say, for instance, you have TXU or Reliant or Direct Energy or all the other smaller branches, right? Well, you would pay whatever service that they have. So say, for instance, TXU is 7 cents per kilowatt. Okay, and Reliant is 5 cents per kilowatt. You can say, well, I want to pay 5 cents per kilowatt. I'm going to go with Reliant. But what the 2 power companies have in common is that we have one power company called CenterPoint, which CenterPoint does all the work, basically. They're the ones putting down the lines. They're the ones going out whenever the power goes out to go fix it. They own all the lines here in Texas. So they get a cut, right? So they get 6 cents on the kilowatt, right? So they get 6 cents, and then you have a provider. And the provider is who you're going to be buying your power from, okay? So then you get to change providers based on what they're selling, right? So one might be selling it for 10, one might be selling it for 7, one might be selling it for 5, another one's selling it for 13, whatever the case may be. But you always have to include the 6% on the kilowatt for CenterPoint. CenterPoint will always get their cut no matter who you use your power from. But the only good thing is that with CenterPoint, then they're on their job. I mean, they're on their shit. I mean, when you're out of power, you're usually not out of power for long. I mean, they're right on it. They keep everything up to date. Everything is nice. But then I see the stuff that goes on in California. You're going, oh man, hey, shit. I wish that they could have what we have here, because then maybe they might have some better options, and competition breeds more options and better rates. It just, sorry, I'm off topic, but man, my eyes itchy because I left my glasses in the bathroom, and I took a shower. I didn't put my glasses on like a freaking dummy. I don't know if you could tell. My eyes are like, yeah, I can't even really see them because my eyeballs will get just so small. All right, so they do wind, they do solar, and they do coal, right? So we have wind power, solar power, and coal power here in Texas. So we have all three. Okay, because we have we have the fan turbines all over Texas, like on the west coast, on the west side, going towards Mexico, right? Because when you get out in the wide open, lots of wind turbines out there. Now they have, so like I said, they have solar, and they have coal or natural gas or whatever, right? But honestly, I don't like paying for solar power or paying for wind power. I don't like paying for either one of those, for the simple fact is that, I mean, come on now. You're charging me the same rate that you would if I was using coal, or if I'm using natural gas or something. You're charging me the same rate. So why would I want to pay the same rate, if not more, for the wind or the solar? Fuck it. Just give me my power. I don't care where it comes from. Just give it to me. Whatever. I'll use whatever comes my way. Because the fact is that, we're using it all. We're using it all. I really don't care about where the power comes from, because this is, look, we're going to have to find a way to make all three work. Right? The fact is that I don't want you to just sell me wind, or just sell me solar, or just sell me whatever, right? Everybody needs the work. Everybody needs the jobs. Everyone needs whatever, right? And I don't want to sit there and pick one over the other. See, I tell people all the time, but like, look, what is oil and coal and stuff like that done for the American people? They've given them work, giving them a way to make a living. Now, and people who didn't have really good educations, they could go out and find work, right? You didn't have to be very educated to go work on a rig, or go work in a coal mine, or go work with drilling for natural gas, or whatever the case may be, right? It wouldn't matter. You can go in there with any skill set and make a living. And then you have turbines, right? Those turbines cost millions of dollars per each one, right? They cost millions of dollars per each one. Well, guess what? Now somebody's got to make them, somebody's got to manufacture them, somebody's got to ship them, and so on, right? And then and you might need a little bit more skill set to do those. So then you're going, okay, well, now I have a slightly more skilled individual working on these, providing power for people. And then you go, well, we've got solar as well. Okay, well, then we're going to be building solar panels and such, right? And then what happens is you have more people being able to make a living, and so on, right? And this is what's dividing the country, is that they believe that, no, we're not all getting a decent piece of the pie, right? Look, when the baker bakes the pie, you don't know exactly how it's going to come out. And sometimes some people get a bigger slice than whoever. You don't know who came up first in line. When someone was handing out pies, you didn't want to be the last one in line, because you already know that if you're the last one in line, there's a likely that all you're going to get is pie crumbs. Okay? You're going to get the very leftovers of the pie. Now, the people who got there first, they might have got the size that everybody was supposed to get, right? You're like, everybody's going to get this piece of pie, this piece of pie, this piece of pie, and this should work, right? Well, then what happens is that people are seeing that the pie is getting pieces taken out of it, and they're like, oh no, well, we have to get our piece. And so it comes into this jumping over each other, trying to fight each other to get a piece of the pie. Well, then people who are on the back of the line, or people who are still trying to get to it, you're going, well, that's not fair. That's not fair. I didn't get a piece. Oh, they got a bigger piece than I got. Oh, why does he got 2 slices? Well, you don't know what this person did before you, but yet we want to fight with them about what they have more than what we have. Now, I get it, right? You know, we all want to be successful. We all want the same things that everybody else has. But what's keeping you from doing those things? You have to sit there and ask yourself, really, what's keeping you from doing those things? Is it your education? Is it your personality? What is it? You know, some people have that drive to just achieve the most that they can achieve, and they're always very successful, right? Right? And then there's those who aren't as successful because either they don't have that drive, or they just don't have that thought process that someone else has. But just because y'all don't have the same thought process doesn't make one better than the other. It just means they get a little bit more. Now, I've seen people who've gone to college that are making bullshit money, right? I mean, they're making shit money just coming out of college and stuff like that, right? And I've seen people who have no education making good money. I've seen people who had worse educations and worse schooling and worse predicaments than I have, that have more than me, that have multiple houses, who have businesses, have ranches, and stuff like that. And you're going, man, what did I do wrong? Like, what did I do wrong? But really what it is your priorities. What has your priorities? What do you think is more important than what? Because what your sacrifices are your own. And what you're willing to sacrifice for success will give you that. But everyone's always looking at the money like, oh man, I want the same money this person has. I want the same money as that person has. I want the same health care as that person has. I want the same health care as that person has. But as soon as they get it, they realize that, oh my God, this is too expensive. I couldn't afford this. I can't afford that. Oh yeah? That's cool. I want, one day I'll get a business, you know? But look, money is only important because we made it important. We make the value of whatever our currency is, because we determined that that's what our value should be. Can you imagine, right? The US dollar, right? Everyone's trading the US dollar, right? They say, oh, the dollar's worth this much money, and other countries are looking at the dollar and they're going, oh, it's worth this much to that dollar, whatever, right? Now, say for instance, I go, you know what? I think the new type of currency should be a certain type of pebble, right? I know it don't make any sense, but say it's a certain type of pebble. And I find value in this pebble. People love the way it looks. People love how light it is. They feel like they can have a bunch of them, whatever the case may be, right? And we start trading in pebble. And then we say, screw the dollar. But then we are now putting value in this pebble as if it is a currency that we can trade amongst each other and use it as money. We're always going to determine what the value is. Now, say for instance, back in the day when they used to trade stuff, right? And instead of giving them money, they would say, I will give you this sheep for this whatever, right? Or this goat, or this chicken, or this pig. And they would trade livestock and stuff like that in order to have other types of livestock, right? Say there's a person up the road, he's got 14 pigs and no chickens, and he wants some chickens. He'd be like, hey, look, I'll give you one of my pigs for like 3 of your chickens. Well, because he sees value in your chickens is the same way that you see value in his pig. Now, what you see your value is what we all determine, right? Now, the dollar is nothing more than a piece of paper that is an IOU currency, right? It's essentially IOUs. When I have a whole book of fucking money, right? Say every page in this book was $100. Okay? And I start writing these things out to people. Okay? It is basically a promissory note that if anything was to ever happen, I know that you have this much in currency, right? That's why they had the silver dollars back then, right? That if you had a dollar, the silver dollar, what it was is that in case something happened, I could trade that dollar with the silver stamp for a piece of silver, right? And because silver still has its value or so, in the same way as gold or such. But my value in these pages means nothing if you don't agree. Right? So if I'm the United States government and I'm handing you out pages of this notebook, it has no value unless you agree that it has value. See, say for instance, when we deal with other countries who do not use the dollar bill, and you say, hey, look, my dollar is worth this. If you want to make a deal, you have to give me something of value of yours that makes me feel like it's worth one of my dollars. So this constant fight over money is a stupid fight, because what says in 100 years, 50 years or so, we don't get away from the dollar, right? Say we get away from the dollar and we go back to the gold standard. What if we go back to where we're using silver coins and stuff like that? You never really truly know. Obviously, it's not practical because there's way too many people. It's just trading in silver would be crazy. But on a side note, I do have some silver. It's pretty cool. I got a couple coins, and I got this like a little bar thing that breaks it up into quarters. So if I wanted to trade them in quarter pieces of silver, it's pretty cool. I got a couple of them. I want some gold, but I don't have any gold. But I have silver. You never know. The dollar might fucking crash, and that silver. You know, there used to be a thing where you can buy a whole house for an ounce of silver. Can you imagine buying a whole house for an ounce of silver? Do you know how much an ounce of silver is going for? An ounce of silver is essentially like $18. Right? If you go down there, if you Google how much does it cost for an ounce of silver, it'll say like 18 something, like $18 and some change. But like, you can literally trade that little piece and just go like, hey, you know, I want to buy a house or buy whatever, right? Crazy. Now, I'm not saying that the dollar would ever crash, but what if it did? You know, all those people with the millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars, they have a vested interest to make sure that that dollar lasts, that dollar holds a value, that dollar will never change, and to keep you wanting the dollars that they have, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to keep making actions that will keep you wanting it. Yeah, because, you know, salt, any spice or salts or anything like that was. Remember they had the salt mines over salt fields or salt mines or whatever overseas. I remember seeing stuff like that when they would trade that in some of the documentaries I watched. Right, that they used to trade in salt as well. But there's like minerals and stuff. They would trade in minerals. But But what we see as value is based off of what we accept as value. Right? Now, we all want to be wealthy. We all want to have this life of ease. And we believe that money is what's going to get us there. So a lot of times we fight over it. We'll fight over it. We'll kill over it. We'll steal it. It doesn't matter. Whatever the case may be to get it, they'll do whatever it takes to get it. But since we put so much value in it, say for instance, if someone takes it without your okay or without you giving it to them willingly, then you're going to protect it. You're going to try to protect it the best that you can. Now, since we all put value in the dollar, when we see our government taking our dollars, we get upset. When we see thugs and gangsters trying to take our money, we get upset. when we see our money go overseas and invested in other countries, we get upset because those are our dollars. We were working hard for those dollars, and those are ours. And come on now, but you know, look, like I said, what divides us is just our thought process, right? What we see valuable. So, say for instance, I see oil and natural gas valuable, and the people on the left think that natural gas and oil is essentially garbage and that we don't need it. Which is funny because over half the shit that they wouldn't have if they didn't have oil and gas. Right? I mean, they didn't have these power sectors and stuff like that out there investing millions of dollars and putting their blood, sweat, and tears into this earth to try to extract it out so that we can use it. You know, oil is like our biggest blessing and our biggest curse, right? Because oil has made many people rich, given many people value that may or may not have had value back in the day, right? Oil has gotten people killed. Thousands upon thousands of people have lost their lives over oil, willing or unwilling. You know, so when I say it's a blessing and curse, because everyone's lost so much because of it, but we've gained so much more. The technologies, devices, and all the different things that we make using plastics and using different things. You have to ask yourself, like, would we have had those things if we weren't into that kind of stuff? You know, I understand that like Tesla was making it or showing that you can generate power from their surroundings, right? You didn't actually have to produce it using all these different mechanisms for power and stuff like that, which is awesome. I mean, I've looked at that kind of stuff. Like I watched like Tesla and stuff like that. Watch them make that deal where it like generates power around it because there's power all the way around us. But I don't know. It's just really frustrating that we can't find a ground where we can all work on. Now, that's why it frustrates me so much that people are so willing to give in and give up their own thought process. Edison stole his theory. I heard there's a series or a movie that came out or is coming out that like it shows like it was like a race to provide power and stuff like that to the people, right? Because I remember I think Edison was had said how dangerous Tesla's invention was and how it was going to like hurt people or like they weren't going to be able to make money, because really what it's all about money. It's always goes back to money. So somehow they had stopped him. I don't know all the details, but it's very interesting. Like I swear, I think there was a show or a movie that's about it. What is it called? I forgot what it's called. He said alternating currents power was dangerous. Yeah, cause it's all right though. I've been believe it or not, I've been trying to work on producing my own energy, right? So I'm using some technologies that I've seen online, but I'm trying to maximize it, right? Like, so for instance, I have an alternator that produces 100 amps, right? Well, it's a 100 amp alternator. And so I have that alternator and I want to use the alternator to basically recycle the power, right? Now I want to go get a motor to keep it, circulating and stuff like that. But I'm trying to think of a way that I can produce enough power to run a house on. Because I don't want a generator, because the generator, you still need fuel, right? You still need fuel for a generator in order to run it. Now, I want to run without fuel. I want to be able to go out there and spin it up and get it producing power, and then it just keep recycling the same power. Right? So I've been trying to think of stuff like that. Now, I have one idea that I've been wanting to do, and I don't really want to put it out there too much because what if it would work, and then I got people fucking stealing my idea. I'm gonna have to go patent it or something, like once I have it all drawn out, because I think it would be pretty cool. Because the thing is that when you live in an apartment, you can't really use a generator, right? You can't keep it inside, and if you keep it inside, you have to keep it ventilated and stuff like that, and then the noise from it, and then and if you keep it outside, someone's just gonna steal it. So when you live in an apartment, there's no way for you to have power. Like if the power goes out, you just shit out of luck, right? So there's an idea that I want to push for apartments, but I'm still working on it. I'm still working on the idea. I'm trying to use like the information that I gather from either YouTube or gather from books or television and history to try to determine how I can go about making my my thought real, right? So, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes money, and I may not get it right away, but I'll probably get it somewhere down the line. Now, but hey, look, I wish I could. Well, like I said, I wish I could share it out and get feedback, right? That would help me make it possible. But like I say, the way that you have to do that, they have this website or this one site where you can go and you can put your ideas up there, and people would work as a community to give you these ideas. But I think you have to try to get it patented before you do it, because what happens is maybe somebody else can take your idea and try to make something else out of it. But I don't know. I just find like when I start to think about power, like I think about that because look, power is something we're always going to need, right? Power is what drives us. From the cars to your house to your phones, right? They power the world. So it's very important. And whoever controls the power has a lot of power over everyone else, right? They have a lot of influence in politics. They have a lot of influence in the world. But see, when people go out of that normal thought process and try to find ways to become more self-sustained, the better the country would be, right? So, for instance, like when I'm thinking about power and I'm thinking about the different ways that I can produce something for my family, and if it works, guess what I'm going to do? Am I going to give it away for free, or am I going to charge people to have? I'm going to charge people to have because I also know the value of capitalizing on your ideas, right? Because I've seen this one thing where people buy other people's products and then take it apart, see how it's made, so they can try to remake the exact same product for themselves, right? That's what China does. China does that with a lot of products too, right? They'll disassemble something and then put it back together and see if they can get all of it all the pieces to make their own, and basically go around the patent. See, when they were talking about intellectual theft, that China was doing this intellectual theft, whatever, right? When they're doing this theft, that's essentially what they're doing. They're taking the ideas and going around the patent and redesigning a cheaper version of the exact same thing. But everyone knows that the cheaper version isn't better, right? So But yeah, no. So I don't know. Like I was just thinking about that. It's just when I was listening to that story today on the radio and the way they were talking about the Jews and talking about Donald Trump, and I was just like, no matter what this man does, he can't do no right, right? Nothing he'll ever do will be right, right? And I'm looking back at all of our other presidents, and I start to look back, and I'm going, none of them fucking did right. Nobody was loved by everybody. Even JFK, the people who I used to see stuff all the time when JFK died, people were crying in the streets or crying and bawling their eyes out, and this very tragic event happened, and not because they killed and it was crazy. It's not because they killed the president of the United States. They were crying because they killed JFK. They loved that man. Okay, he's before my time, so I didn't love him. I don't know who the fuck he is. I just know a little bit about him, right? And which is crazy because I've heard two different sides of him. I heard there's like really great side, letting out the truth about what's going on in government, calling out the basically essentially the deep state, right? Calling them out, bringing them to the light, and so on, right? And so I'm like, well, that side of him, I like, right? And then there's the other side as well. That says, how he was involved with the mob, and how they helped get him elected. How people hated JFK. How they felt like JFK was going to be the one that starts the war, the Cold War, whatever, with Russia, right? I think JFK was during the Russian Cold War times. I don't remember. It was somewhere around there. I think so, because I remember it was because you remember I believe that the Russians were going to move warheads or whatever to Cuba, right? So I mean they thought that he was actually going to cause us to go into this like really big war. So people didn't like him either. Now, but when I look at all these presidents, there was something about each one that people liked and people didn't like. I think the Bay of Pigs. Look at what is it? What is it? Oh, I seen this documentary about Abraham Lincoln, right? And it was talking about how all the stuff that he did that was not legal, like he wasn't allowed to do, that he did, right? And yeah, it was a fight. I don't know. I don't know what that is. I'm not looking. Look. Is that like a certain fight or something that I can look up? I'm gonna see. Sorry, I'm gonna see real quick. Sorry. I don't know. I don't know a lot of information about a lot of stuff, right? So if I don't know something, I look them up because But at the same time, I kind of worry about looking things up because sometimes they're fucking biased as shit. Like whenever you try to look up certain things. Oh look, there it is. It's the second thing. War battle that JFK started in Cuba, I think. They say that Castro was a CIA plant. Oh, look, there's a newspaper. Rebels invading Cuba. Ah, fucking New York Times. Fucking New York Times are always, you know, I don't know. Were the New York Times ever like a really good newspaper? Right? Were they ever like good? Let's see. Anti-Castro units land in Cuba. Report fighting at Beachhead. Ranks the U.S. won't invade or intervene. They said they won't intervene. I don't know. I'm gonna be looking for videos on this, right? I'm gonna be looking for videos for people talking about this kind of stuff. But when you go and you look at these different things, you're going like, man, what were we thinking? What were we getting ourselves into? What were we trying to accomplish? But as much as as much as as much as we look at our president, we understand as well it's not all just him. No matter how hard Donald Trump fights, right? There's always gonna be one bottom line, and that is the person who has the most money wins. Okay, if they want certain things to happen, they'll make sure certain things happen. They might allow Donald Trump to get away with certain things, but even if he was trying to pull everything out from the darkness and into the light, where people can see what's going on, even then he still knows there's limits, right? Even he knows that there's certain lines he cannot cross, and he's not going to cross them, right? He may show some of it, but really, sometimes that's all you need, though, too, is to see just enough to kind of pique the interest. Look at what just happened right now, right? You told me about the Bay of Pigs, right? And so, what did I do? I went and looked at it. I want to go see what that is. Yeah, and you can't tell anybody any information now these days and then think they're going to look it up. They're just going to take whatever information is given to them and they're going to run with it, right? I can literally, if I wanted to, I can say Bay of the Pigs, right? I said Bay of the Pigs was the day that the pigs were loose on the bay. And what happened is that they were going around harassing citizens, and they made a whole day out of it. Now that day was over, the pigs, they run the beaches free, like running with the bulls, but instead you're running with the pigs, and now it's the Bay of the Pigs. And someone would go, "Oh, okay, I didn't know that. That's crazy. Okay," and then just leave it at that. Don't do any research. Don't look into it. Don't try to find out if there's any factual stuff that's going on with it. You just be like, oh. And then they'll tell their friends, and they'll tell their friends, and they'll tell their friends. And what happens is somebody calls them out on their stupid shit. Like, they're going to go, yeah, those that win the battle writes the history. And that is for sure. Right? As 100% for sure, those who win gets to tell the story. And you don't want to listen to it from the loser side, because guess what? The loser side is going to be all like, oh, they only won because of this. Or they'll say, oh, this particular person cheated, or that particular person cheated on this, and that really didn't happen. But people are going to believe the ones who won. Right? They're going to believe the loser. Because you can feel strong about when you're on the winning side. I just looked over and it says JFK warns Moscow, U.S. will act in Cuba. Yeah, sorry. I'm looking at all these little news articles and stuff like that. Like, seriously, hold on. Check this out real quick. I'm going to go off my face real quick. Hold on. I know. Hold on. Check this out. See? Okay. See, I'm looking. I look up that stuff. Trust me, I'm gonna be looking for a video soon, right? Because sometimes the best way to get the information is just I like to listen to it, right? I like to listen to the stories. So we'll be checking into this now. Lots of articles. Yeah, there's a lot of them. You got the Pittsburgh Times, the Citizen News, the New York Times, Arizona Republic, the Daily News. There's a bunch of them out there. but I don't know if you caught the episode that I did. Not yesterday, Friday, right? First of all, I made my thumbnail too big or something because the writing disappeared off the top and the bottom of the Indians. Because on the top of the Indians and the bottom of the Indians it says, "Give up your guns. The government will protect you." Right, and then I seen another one. It's like it goes, ask the Indians how gun control helped them. I think that's what it said. Let me drop this down real quick. I think that's what it said. I mean, I am in the dark. What the hell? Hold on. My computer's like, I had the window open. Let the natural light come in. Fuck the solar and the wind. I'll use the natural light. I'll use the sunlight. Hold on. But let me get some real light. Okay. All right. I turn my lamp on over there. Okay. Now I'm back. All right. Let me see. I have it here. Let's see. What did it say? Where are you? Okay, because I believe this was a real article or a real deal where they were talking about the Indians or whatnot. Now, let me see. Hold on. Real quick. I don't really remember what this one said. Okay, if you're not going to open, then just tell me. Okay. You know what? Okay, let's go back here. Okay. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, so yeah, we gave up our guns and lost it all. Yeah, I wonder how history would have played out if the Indians would have put up more of a fight, right? If they would have been able to hold off. Like, what would this country be like then? And sometimes I wonder, right? Like, what if things wouldn't have gone the way that they did? Like, where would we be at? And it's just, when you think about it, you're going, it could have been so much different, or it could be worse. It could be better, it could be worse. We don't know. I was looking at the thing. It says it's got bump stock on it. It's got like a bump. It says bump stock control. It's got the fucking Democrats preaching to the fucking the Democrats what bump stock is. Yeah, there's a possibility, right? But regardless of what it is, it's just we are. Now that we're looking back at history, we know that it would have been inevitable that violence and growth and death and different things was going to happen, right? I mean, it's just human nature, right? It's human nature to get along and fight each other at the same time, right? And look, if you even look at the Indians, the way that they fought over territory as well, right? No, it's okay. It's okay. No, you're fine. I'm not worried. Look, we all have an opinion, but we also have our different outlooks, right? We can say that we believe that something was going to be a certain way or not, right? Now, say for instance, there's people who would say that that blacks used to have more when they were segregated, right? When they had just their own stuff. and when they weren't allowed to associate with whites and this and that. And so some people would say that they wish that they could go back to those times when, not violence wise, but having their own stuff, right? And that they felt like there was a lot more community back then than there is now. And then there's some that would argue the fact to say, no, change had to happen. It needs to happen. We have now, we're equal to the white man, or we equal to this or equal to that. And then you have to ask yourself, like, what if? What if things would have been the same? What if things would not have changed and things were still the same way that they always been? And we're always going to wonder the what ifs because it's the unknown, right? We don't know what would have happened, so then we speculate on what could have happened. And that's pretty much what history people do. They like argue like, oh, this would have happened here, this would have happened there. But you know, like when they argue, oh, well, the founders would be flabbergasted by what's going on in the nation these days with this president and this and this and that. But you don't know what the fuck the founders thought. What if and what if that and what if this? We don't fucking know. I mean, some people thought some of the founders were tyrants and traitors to the crown and stuff like that. Do you really want to take that, take the thought process of a traitor and say that, hey, what did this person think and what that person think? Now, like I said, some people will say that. Some people will say, hey, you know, F. George Washington, he was a freaking traitor. He betrayed the crown and you know, we started this whole nation and all this other shit. I mean, I wonder if the queen fucking looks over across the sea and just goes, fucking George Washington, you suck. I'm sorry, son of a bitch. Ooh, you motherfuckers. You're lucky I wasn't in power. The queen's just sitting over there on her throne, and she just kind of like, just every now and then looks over the sea and just gives us the finger. I heard that there was a story that they had a picture of they had a picture of George Washington at the over there at the palace somewhere or something like that, right? And they would get mad at the poster of George Washington, and because you know Ben Franklin used to be was it Ben Franklin? I think because Ben Franklin used to go over there when he would make deals, right? Whenever he would go overseas or whatever to deal with the French or whatever the case may be, whatever they're doing over there, right? And they didn't like they would express to him how they didn't like the picture of Washington. But you know, I think Washington was like, what was it? Like he was a high-ranking officer in the British Army, so I don't know. You know, but we talked guns, and we talked about gun violence, and talked about how, look, I've told people, I was like, look, I apologize for anyone who suffered at the hands of gun violence. But if we continue to keep chipping away at our Second Amendments, or chipping away at these different things, and eventually, before we know it, we won't have anything, and we won't even have a way to fight back because it'll be too late. Right? When I was talking to a guy today about what was going on in Virginia, and I told him, I said, look how easy it was for him to enforce this law to prevent his own constituents from carrying their weapons wherever in their state, right, or wherever they're at, right? And I'm going, look at that, right? Look at that. And that's just one place. Now, just imagine everyone started doing that. I said, look, every time that you vote yes on some type of gun control, you're letting them take another piece away from you. You're letting take another piece and another piece and another piece. See, in Virginia, they were supposed to be voting on assault rifle ban, which is funny that you use assault rifle ban as if like or that like if any gun is like any rifle can't be an assault rifle. Like what is an assault? An assault is like, you know, um, well, you got assault with a deadly weapon and stuff like that, right? You can get assault with a fucking tire iron. Okay, so fucking gun or tire iron, you still get the same result with an assault, right? It's to inflict harm onto somebody. But I told him, I was like, look at that. I said, it's not if the government tries to take all of our stuff. It's when the government tries to take all of our stuff. It's when the government starts enforcing these laws to take our guns. That's when the government decides that it's no longer okay for you to march in the streets. It's when the government says that you no longer have the freedom of speech, or you don't have these different freedoms that have been granted to us by the Constitution. And like I said, we may look back at the founders and we say, hey, the founders wanted this and wanted that. And yes, they did want certain things, but at the same time, they also understood that this could possibly be temporary. They didn't know how long it was going to last. They didn't know it was going to last as long as it's lasting now. They were only hoping that the American people and the people in the colonies believed that the Constitution had enough value to be protected. And that's what we are doing now, hundreds of years later, trying to protect something we see value in. We see value in that piece of paper. Technically, it's not paper. It's like some kind of leather or hide or something, right? It's not necessarily paper, but I'm going to call it paper. All right, but we see value in that piece of paper. I heard that this was just an experiment. Yeah, because like I said, they didn't know if it was going to work. Right? They didn't know if everything was going to go the way that they thought it was going to go. To see how we would act, because they felt like this, that if everyone had the right to say what they wanted, that eventually we would always vote in the best interest of where we're at in the country, and so right. And I want to believe that people back in the day used to believe in more than just themselves, right? And I think that's the reason why the British were so they had so much influence all over the world, is because people believed in fighting for something bigger than themselves. They believed in fighting for the crown. They believed. But not only did they believe in the crown, but they also feared the crown. They feared it just as much as they believed in it. So they had a lot of influence around the world, and they've touched almost every nation that's ever been, right? No matter where at in the world, the British have touched it at some point in time. They may not have been able to stay, but at least they touched it. And that just shows their influence, right? That just shows how they had this reach, but you had no say with the crown, right? If they wanted something to be a certain way, you did it. Yeah, they respected it out of fear because they knew that it would lead to hangings, right? But they also feared what it would be like without them, right? Because back then they had a lot of fighting amongst each other, or the native, like other countries or whatever back then too, right? Because everyone was always in the hunt to sit on the throne. See, because back then you didn't vote, you didn't vote who would be king or queen or whatever the case may be. It was taken, right? Another king would come and take that spot. So, it was, some people feared what would happen if they were to ever go away. Now, well, like I was saying, but the respect was there, and it was respected because either fear or out of loyalty, but loyalty to the success of what they're doing, right? Now, here in the United States, we see the same thing, right? That we would only hope that people would put the best interest of the country over themselves in a way that the same way that the people were putting the crown over themselves. But they wanted people to be free enough that you didn't work in fear of your government, right? You weren't supposed to fear your government. Yes, they were your government. There were basically people that were appointed to represent you, but at the same time, you weren't afraid of them. You weren't scared to cross them by any means. You weren't scared that you would end up getting hanged because something you said. But at the same time, I mean, look how we've grown with this whole balance of, my best interest, your best interest, country's best interest, my best interest, your best interest, the country's best interest. And we put those three things together and we make three legs that we can stand on. But what happens is now we've gotten to a point where now we're trying to chip away at the very foundation in which we're built on. We're chipping away at every standard and every measure of showing that we are this united nation. Like, we are all in this together for growth and peace and harmony and respect or whatever for the next man or woman beside them, right? But we're chipping away at the foundations. Sometimes you can chisel away at the foundation and get a masterpiece, but at the same time, if you're not careful, when you start to chiseling away, you scrap it all. When you're chiseling away a stone, there's no room for mistakes. We can perfect the best art in the world, chiseling away at the stone. And we all have our own chisel and hammer, and we all have our vision of what this masterpiece will look like. But at the same time, if you get somebody over there chiseling away with a sledgehammer while everybody else is chiseling away with tiny little hammers and a little pick, then what happens is whoever's got the sledgehammer is doing damage to the masterpiece. They're not making it any better, they're destroying it. And anyone who's done stonework or any work that cannot be forgiven for a simple error or mistake will understand that, hey, look, if we mess this up, the entire thing's scrapped. And the founders believe that if we mess this up, if this doesn't work, we know where we're headed. We're going to head back to where we came from. We're going to head back to the mindset in which we came from. And I'm willing to bet that even after the war with Britain and everything, that it probably would have happened again. They would have made another move on us. Yeah, I remember hearing that phrase when I was little. Too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Right? I'm just a little engine that could. I'm just a little engine that could. I keep and just keep moving forward. I'm on my track, and I just hope nothing gets in the way. But yeah, I heard that when I was younger. Too many chiefs and not enough engines. Oh man. I used to hear that people didn't like being called Indians, right? They were like, you can't call them Indians. They don't like being called Indians. I'm like, well, fuck, I mean, probably shouldn't have put it in the textbook that they were Indians. I don't know. That's what it is. Like, you got to call them Native Americans, or you got to, now they're indigenous people. It's crazy how they want to control the way that you word things, right? They want to control like what you call people. Like, if you call me a Mexican, should that offend me? No, it shouldn't offend me. It doesn't offend me. If you call me a little Mexican, I'd be like, okay, well, I guess if that's what you think, or whatever, right? I used to tell people that growing up, Mexicans didn't see me as Mexican because I don't speak Spanish. Yeah, I don't. Look, if somebody called me a little Indian. JB Gunner calls little Indians. JB Gunner be like, all those little Indians. Yeah, that shit don't offend me at all. Like, that to me is hilarious. Like, yeah, that's a kind of comedy in your life, right? I mean, fuck it. It's just a word. It's just, I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, that's what I mean about putting value on stuff that doesn't matter. You put a value on a word, and now it has meaning. It has depth to it. It's just so if I if I call somebody a certain thing, they're gonna be like, oh, that's offensive. Well, why is that offensive? It's just a word. I remember back. I'm gonna say a few words that people aren't gonna like, but. But I remember back in the day when people used to use the word faggot all the time, right? They were like, "Oh man, don't be a faggot, don't be gay, or this and that," right? And you'd be like, you for back in the day, you used to think of that as a don't be soft, don't be a little girl, don't be weak, don't be, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't necessarily like you're into other men, right? It didn't mean that you were into other men. It just meant that you were less than a man, right? Like it was weird. It's like, oh, hey, if you got called that, it was because you were less than a man. Not necessarily saying that you like doing other men. It meant that you just were less than one, and you would fight or whatever, right? And you go on about your business, or sometimes just let it go, right? Hey, do you remember when they used to call people yellow belly? Like, or well, obviously we're not. I don't know how old you are, but we're probably not gonna remember people going around calling people yellow belly. But the yellow belly was supposedly an insult on the Chinese, right? And because whenever those Western people would call somebody a yellow belly, it was like calling them like less than what they are, right? It was calling them a coward, calling them like scared and shit like that. So it doesn't necessarily meant that it was directed a certain way, but I mean, people use words and we put so much value to it now these days that I mean, you can't say anything anymore. You're like everyone's offended, and it's just it gets out of hand. Like I can't say anything about anybody, right? And then we all have to accept everybody. I like being in my own world sometimes. I actually enjoy my moments where it's just me and I like in my own thought process and not having to worry about the rest of the world out there concerned about what I call them, what I say about them, what I observe. Because I mean, now these days, like I said, you can't say anything to nobody about nothing. And since everybody's so offended, they'll never change. Right? I'm waiting for somebody. They get offended when you breathe. Dude, like that kid that's always like, "You're touching me, I'm not touching you." See, the Republicans like the kid that's got his finger up to the person going, "I'm not touching you," and the Democrats like the kid going, "Tell him to stop touching me. Leave me alone. He's touching me." And the Republicans are like, "I'm not touching you." Just finger just waving at him and shit. But with that little joke aside, Mom, he's touching me. Yeah. But see, with that little joke right there aside, right? With that there, that's pretty much what's going on in today's society. Is that the Republicans aren't touching them. The Democrats are saying they're touching them, and then getting violent whenever they get too pissed off. Because if you have a sibling and they're doing that, stop touching me, stop touching me, what do? They hit you, right? They hit you because they're getting angry that you're even around them. They're getting angry that you are still slightly fucking with them, and they don't know how to take it. Right? And so essentially that's what's going on in society, is that they don't know how to handle the irritation this irritation of being around people of opposite views or people that are just wanting to piss them off. It's like trolling them. You know how like trolls get people upset, right? They're like, "Oh, I got this fucking troll. They're stupid. This, that, this, and that," right? And people who don't care tend to don't mind the trolls. They're like, "Oh, it's just a fucking troll." They just get upset. And That's because they grew up in a way that they really don't care, right? They don't really care what the troll has to say. They, we used to grow up. What's that stupid ass fucking saying? Um, oh, oh, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words would never hurt me, unless you say Donald Trump, because then now you hurt my feelings. I get a kick out of trolls. I think they'll be pretty funny. I think trolls can be very hilarious at times, right? Like if you like if you let them do their thing, I bet they could be pretty funny. But the problem is that they're trolling these people on the left who can't handle it. They get all fucking butthurt. They get so mad. And then at the same time the troll is sitting on the other end just laughing his fucking ass off. It's just like, ha. It's kind of like if they want to cross the bridge and the troll is just sitting there fucking with them going, well, you can't take a joke, you can't cross. But but yeah, like I sat there and when I did a video a while back, I said, a lot of us older people aren't taking responsibility for our role. Sometimes I troll the trolls. Yeah, see, it could be fun. It could be fun. But you know what? A lot of us, we don't take responsibility for our role and what's going on in society now these days. Right? We all play a role at some point in time. Either you were a bully and you fucked with other kids and never gave them a break, and now they grew up and now they got power and now they want to enforce their power on us. Or they, or maybe they're kids of your own, right? That you let them have it so easy that now they don't know what it is to have this tough skin and this strong backbone, and and now they're getting older and they don't know what to do with themselves, because like I say, we want our kids to have a better life than ours, right? So if you were to go back and you think about your childhood and you go, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, but my kids won't have to deal with that. But see, you are who you are because of all those decisions, right? You are essentially who you are because of it. Now, take away all those things. Yeah, trophy for just being there. But take away all those things that made you you and take that from your kid. And what happens is you get a whole different outlook. You get a whole different upbringing. And so, for instance, my kids won't know the struggles of having to make a dollar at a young age. They're not going to have to worry about a lot of different things. And so when they get older, I don't know what they're going to be like, right? I don't know if they're going to be a leftist. I don't know if they're going to be for the right. You don't ever really know because society changes on a whim, right? All I'm hoping is that we outweigh the left, right? We outweigh them enough that they get the idea from both sides, right? The left only wants to improve things, but they feel like taking away what makes us us and making everything such a safe, neutral place. They're also not taking into mind that there are people who don't view us and view this country as an equal, and they're going to either want to take it by force or they will take it through influence. And I hope the other people is like, that's pretty much what that whole Agenda 21 is the New World Order. It's about trying to take over society from within. And the way you do that is change the minds of the people, get everybody on board, get everybody voting in your favor, and then you get exactly what you wanted. I seen that ad or that joke or whatever it was where it said China was saying that that they are in charge of the United States or they own the United States or whatever, right? Because They all like all these other countries are supposed to be like loaning us a bunch of money and stuff. I don't think we owe a bunch of countries money. I think we just owe the Fed a bunch of money, right? So essentially, because the Fed's a central bank and we have a decent credit score, so our country's running around with a 680. We ain't doing that good, but we're doing good. We're like we got a 700 credit score. You know, our country's got a black card. They're just fucking swiping away, and then it's like, people will pay for it. They're just like walking in the store, and just like, hey, you want that over there? You want that? Go get it. You know what? Give me 100 of them. I said, but if you look at the Chinese money issues, they owe more money than we do. Yeah, the Chinese have been inflating their money, but with the Chinese though, see, they're having the same problem that we're having, right? They're having the same problem we're having. Every country's having the same problem. If you actually sit down and you look at every country's financial problems and their stuff like that, right? The people are mad about how they spend their money. The people are mad about their influence in other countries. The people are mad that they don't have enough money, and people are mad that we're in so much debt. And if you look at every single country has the exact same problem, right? Every country has the exact same problem, and we start looking at what we all have in common, and it's in this banking system, in this credit system, and it's spending more than we have, right? But what's going to make you work, right? What's going to keep you working? If the government says, hey, we're doing away with the dollar, we're going to start paying people in gold pieces of fucking thing. We don't have enough of it, so they can't do it. It's not practical. And if we do anything else, like, how do you determine your wealth and your growth? How do you determine which country is better than which? How do you if money wasn't involved, do you really think that people would be fighting over territory if there was no currency, if there was no money to be made, if there was no real influence, right? And if you sit there and you think about it, like really, I mean, what determines who's better than who? See, a lot of people look at the United States as better than other countries because, one, we have the right to say what we want. We could pretty much say what we want. We have the freedom to travel and do whatever we want within our borders. We can come and go from out of the country as long as we're not in the no-fly zone, and essentially, we have the illusion of wealth, right? And the illusion of wealth is determined on the wealth that people determine that you're worth, right? Because of the IOU notes. How many IOU notes you have? If I have 100 IOU notes and you only have 20 IOU notes, I'm wealthier than you. Well, I know that I see you're fixing to be out of here. I'm only gonna stream for another 15 minutes. So if you do come back, let me know, and then because I'm gonna end this at 2 hours. But in case you don't, I'm glad you're here. You know, I really am. I know I get a little off topic. I do, but I think that's half the fun. Right, I think that's half the fun. Getting off topic is a lot. Sometimes it's even more interesting than staying on topic, because I know that I was talking about how this country is divided, but it's just our mindsets, man. We're just thinking of how we can improve, but we cannot improve if we can't even have a conversation about like stupid shit. Like, we can't have a conversation about the flaws. We can't have conversations about what we see in each other. We can't have a conversation in nothing. And everybody wants to be separated. Everybody wants to be the victim. And as long as victimhood keeps going on, we're never really going to move forward either, because the biggest victim gets the most sympathy, and and after that, then once they get the sympathy, I'm gonna chop that shit up. But once you get that, then what happens is people start to cater to you. You start trying to tiptoe around you and be careful what they say around you and stuff like that. But yet you got half the people saying you got half the people tiptoeing around the other half, and the other half ignoring or disregarding the other people. Like, I don't understand how we allow certain people to do whatever the hell they want, talk to us however the hell they want, talk to each other how the hell they want. But then when the opposite sex or the opposite gender or opposite gender or the opposite race or the opposite group of individuals say something that says the exact same thing, then it's some hateful act or some crime or whatever. And then you have to argue the fact is that was the intent. Well, it doesn't matter what the intent is. The fact is the matter that if you can say it, I can say it. If you can do it, I can do it. Okay, if we're going to play ball on an equal playing field, then let's play ball on an equal playing field. Don't tell me what I can and cannot say, and then while at the same time saying the exact things that you told me I couldn't say. Now, if we can't have these conversations, then we'll never move forward. We'll never move forward. I told people, when I did my very first racism video, I had said that, look, people profit off of this stuff. People are making a living off of race. People are making a living off of hatred. People are making a living off of these different movements. And so, why would they want it to stop? Why would they want it to end? Right? People are making a killing off of the left and the right battle. Right? Because look how much money the fucking Democrats earned having over 22 fucking candidates running for president. Now remember, each one of those candidates brought in a couple $1 million each, right? And they're still bringing in more money. And look how much money that they brought in just for their hatred for Donald Trump. And then, so you're kind of like, oh man, they threw all these people in the hat so they can grab as much money as they can, because it's profitable to be anti-Trump if you're a politician or one of those type of things, right? And the same way for people on the right is that you can make a killing off of the debate on why the leftists ain't worth the shit. So it's profitable. So keeping it going is the ultimate goal. Is they're like, hey, we gotta keep this shit going. Oh, what race? Oh, race sells? Okay, well, let's fucking get the calls of people some names then. Let's go ahead and point out some flaws and so that we can get the hate going again. As soon as we start to think that we're going to kill some of this hate down and move forward, nope. No, they bring it back up like a wound that just won't heal. And they're making sure of it. So it's kind of like if you got a cut and they keep taking the scab off, but the way that they're taking the scab off is that they're still cutting into the cut, and constantly just reopening old wounds. But see, the only reason why the opening those old wounds even hurt in the first place is because we're putting value on it. We are like, oh, well, you can't say that. You can't say that. Don't you talk to me like this. Don't you talk to me like that. And so on, right? Because, what was it? I remember someone telling me before that there's power in your words, right? You can speak it into an existence. So, if you keep speaking hate, you will bring hate upon the people, right? You bring hate upon yourself because that's what you're putting out there. They said that that's the reason why humans are so powerful, is that we can bring something that we say into reality. And now, is it true? We don't know, right? We don't know if that's actual truth. But if you believe in the Bible, then you would be like, oh yeah, the Bible says, why, there's power in your tongue or whatever, right? Either or. But still, don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. I don't know which line. I don't know where we're at. I haven't read that motherfucker in so long. I don't know. And I know I cussed not even a few seconds after using the words like Bible and stuff. So, judge me. Don't judge me. I don't know. Yeah, our words have power, and it can cause joy. It can cause pain. It can cause happiness, right? But I can tell you that I hate a certain type and get a certain reaction out of you, right? If I say I love certain things, I can get a reaction out of you, because if you love what I love, then we're going to be in agreement. If you hate what I hate, then we're going to be in agreement, right? And if you don't love what I love, or you don't hate what I hate, then also I will get in a reaction out of you. So, yes, I know that when I go live, right, I'm gonna offend somebody, right? I'm gonna offend somebody. Somebody out there in the world hates what I have to say, but all I'm trying to do is just create conversation, right? Being able to have a conversation with beep beep. Hello. having a conversation is what I like to do, right? And that's the reason why I started doing live, so I can have conversations with people that don't know me from yesterday, right? They don't know me, they didn't grow up with me, but they're interested in what I think, or interested in what I have to say, and knowing that I'm willing to give you the same time of day that you're giving me, right? Because when you're interacting with me in this chat like you are now, then what happens is that I'm getting information from you. I'm learning more about you, and then you're at the same time learning about me, because I'm acknowledging that you're there, and I'm acknowledging that we're having this conversation, and so on, right? But I understand that your view of the world is yours. Who am I to challenge your view of the world? But if we're going to keep it respectful, then what we do is we say, hey, look, I disagree, or I agree, whatever, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a fight. And like I said, everybody wants to change everybody's mind. Everybody wants control of your mind. Like, really, seriously. Have I tried to change your mind on anything? Have I sat there and said, you should change your mind on this? You shouldn't believe this. You shouldn't believe that. No, because your mind is yours, and I want it to be yours. I cherish your mind as much as I cherish the next person's mind, because it's yours. I don't want to change your mind. Right? I want you to be you. But the problem is that on the left, right, they believe in unity, but they want unity among thought and through belief. And how can you have unity through thought and belief and still be you? If you are all thinking the same and believing the same thing, then you are all essentially the same person. And then you have to ask yourself, who's the one that planted this thought and idea in your head, right? Who gave you the idea that this is how you should be? See, we all carry a piece of something that was bestowed onto us at some point in time. Hive mind, yeah, it's like a beehive, yeah. The queen bee. Because let me stop right there, because I'm talking about Queen Bee. Somebody gonna think I'm talking about Beyonce. They're gonna be like, Queen Bee? Is he talking about Beyonce? They were like, no, I wasn't talking about the Queen Bee, okay? Golly, I'm talking about the other Queen Bee. Jesus Christ, the one running the hive. But I mean, I'm just saying, like they have that one collective mindset, and that becomes a problem. That becomes a problem because now they're no longer thinking for themselves. They're no longer themselves. They're this pieced together collage of what they think they're supposed to be. See, what I like about people that are independent and people who are on the right is even in the fact that they are on the right, they will still argue their disagreements with each other. Right? You have people on the right who do not like Donald Trump. And you have people on the right who do like Donald Trump. But they will talk to each other. But you know what they do have in common? They don't like the ones on the left. They'll be like, I don't like Donald Trump. I like Donald Trump. Fuck everybody on the left. That's how their conversation would go. The conversation would be like, hey, you a Republican? Yeah. You a Republican? Yeah. President Trump? Fuck no. President Trump? Yeah. Oh. Bernie Sanders? Fuck Bernie Sanders. It's like, and then all of a sudden they're just gonna be like, even though they disagree, they do have some agreements, right? They'd be like, fuck Bernie Sanders. Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Elizabeth Warren. Fuck Pelosi. Pelosi probably got the biggest one. I seen my wife sent me a post that had Hillary Clinton on the top and Pelosi on the bottom, right? One of those memes, right? And on the top it says Hillary Clinton will go down as the most hated woman in history. And it'd be like Hillary Clinton's like, I'm gonna go down as the most hated woman in history, and Pelosi on the bottom talking about, hold my scotch. Because people hate fucking Pelosi. I mean, they hate her. She's like, I mean, her shaky body and shit. I mean, she's just all like, I swear to God, you can't hear a fucking word she's saying. And somebody needs to walk around with her with a fucking bottle of water around, right? They need to just hand her the water. Just her little person just walking around behind her and just all like, right when she gets ready to speak, you just shove water in her face. Like, drink that. You're going to need it. And she always has that cough. I was going to say a few words. I just want to say, I want to pray for this president. Yeah, I can't believe this is going on. Yeah, nobody likes her, and if she really thinks that she's gonna get up there to the president's spot by fucking getting rid of Trump and trying to get rid of fucking Mike Pence, she's got another thing coming. She really thinks she's gonna make it that high. I've seen somebody say that they wanted Pelosi to become president. They said they need to get rid of they need to get rid of Trump and Mike Pence and move Pelosi to president. And I was like, oh my God, you're out your fucking mind. You have to be out of your mind. But I thought it was funny, right? I thought it was funny that they would even say that. Like, I mean, who really thinks that Pelosi's presidential material? But that's the left for you. That's the left. They believe that she is even the best option for them. Like, the fact that they would even say, yes, we need to get rid of Donald Trump and we got to get rid of Mike Pence and then we can make Pelosi president. I was like, oh my God, really? Oh, two things real quick before I go. I saw a post on Facebook, right, that said that Obama's staff were secretly having meetings, or prior Obama staff were secretly having meetings with the Iranian government, relaying them information on how to beat Donald Trump's foreign policy. Right? I don't know how fucking true this is. I don't even know what all the details in it. But I seen that today. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? They said that the former Obama officials were sitting in these meetings or whatever with Democrat Congress people, and so that they can get information and then relay it back to the Iranian government. And they even said that Rick Perry, I think that was Rick Perry. It was, I forgot who it was, but I forgot what his name was, but they had pictures of him having like one of these secret meetings or whatever in Iran. But yeah, no, I mean the fact that how is that not treason? How are they not being charged with treason? Like I would be like, no, you are fucking giving out information to the Iranian government to undermine your own fucking country. Like what the fuck is wrong with you? Like seriously, why would you do that? I wouldn't care if it was Obama's people or anyone else's people. The fact of the matter is that when you are taking information about what this president is doing and his plans for your country or for another country, and then you relay that information back to that particular country, how is that not treason? You know, we need a good public display of what to do with people who are being charged with treason. I mean, the fact of the matter is, treason is treason. What's the penalty for treason? Right? And I honestly think that this penalty has not changed over the founding of this country to now. This penalty has not changed. And what is the penalty for treason? And with that penalty, I think it should be public. And I think it should be for everyone to see so that everyone would know exactly. Treason is death. You are going to be put to fucking death, and you're going to be put in fucking death in front of everybody. And I think that's what they should do with these fucking mass shooters too. Put them motherfuckers to death on a public fucking stage. So that the world can see that, okay, you want to play these fucking games, death will come to you too. Right? You want to go around fucking taking other people's life? No, you don't get fucking 20 years in prison. You don't get a lifetime in prison. No, you get fucking death. And if to be honest, I think that if it's gonna be a mass shooting person, if this person fucking killed a bunch of fucking people, he should be put in front of a firing line. Right? Like they did back in the day. You fucking stand that motherfucker up there, you turn on the fucking camera, line everybody up. Turn on the fire, right? And light his ass up. And I know it sounds fucking harsh. I already know. Somebody's going to see that and they're going to be like, whoa, mental illness. People have been crazy fucking for hundreds of years. And crazy people isn't something new. There's always been somebody out there who's wanting to inflict harm onto others, and they're crazy people. And you're trying to tell me that now crazy people can't coexist with other people? Now crazy people is a problem? No, crazy people have been around for a long ass time. Mass murder has been around for a long ass time. But the only difference is back then, I just want to say like all this mass killing and stuff like that. Back then, if you got caught for mass killing someone, you got put to fucking death. There was no wait period. No, there's like long ass wait period. You were fucking sentenced to death. Death came very soon. Right? People don't feel the consequences. But all I know is that if you're fucking sabotaging this country and supporting other countries with the information that you're fucking getting from this country, it should be fucking death. Right? Because that's the fucking law. If you don't want that to be a fucking law, then you should go try to sell that to the American people, saying, oh, it's okay to provide information to another country and see how that goes. You really get to see who lines up where, right? And so you get caught fucking for treason, your fucking ass is going to death, and you're going to die, right? But I seen that one, and then the other little thing that I seen was I know I've already talked about the homeless stuff, but I was watching this homeless clip, right? It showed all the fucking drug addicts and all this other shit. People defecating on the streets, fucking this real nasty shit. And everybody kept saying, oh, it's a housing problem, but they were saying, no, it's a drug problem out there. But there was that, and then there was this black lady, she was talking, and she was saying, when when in the beginning during slave times, the slave owners would take the children and sell the children, right, into slavery. But said now these, and he goes, and after all this time and after all this fighting, the only thing that we've earned was the ability to kill our children. And I was like, wow, and like people were upset about that. Like they were upset that she had said that, and it's kind of like, oh, nobody's allowed to say that. Hey, it's true that the black people are killing more of their children than Mexicans. Because I'm telling you right now, Mexicans are having babies like they fucking like they're running a bakery, right? You can get a baker's dozen in no time. Okay, it comes with an extra one. I don't know what it is, man. They just love fucking producing babies. I don't know. They're running like baby factories, right? Where they just producing babies like fucking loaves of bread. just going around. Oh, that's little Debbie's for you. Oh man. Nah, look, I talk shit from time to time. And it's because I get frustrated. When you're passionate about something and somebody questions your passion for it and it pisses you off, right? Like you see them doing things that are against it, right? That are opposite to that view. It kind of frustrates you, right? Because it can get like that at work, right? If you're at work and you're passionate about your work, and they stick somebody to work with you, and they don't work as hard as you, or they don't participate as hard as you, or they don't look at the job as it's worth what you think it's worth, then it kind of frustrates you, right? Well, that's pretty much what's going on with this country and how I feel about it, right? I'm passionate about this country. I understand that we all have to coexist, but at the same time, it's going. I mean, fuck, you're pissing me off. Like, come on, people. What the fuck are y'all thinking? What the fuck are we doing? Okay, nobody said this country was fucking perfect, but it could be fixed in certain ways without fucking destroying everything in the wake of it. When we gotta fucking fix the roads, we don't tear up the whole fucking road. We take out a piece of it, we fix it, and we keep moving forward. You don't tear up the whole fucking road for one piece of fucking that needs to be fixed. And that's pretty much what this country is. This country is a fucking road that needs a few repairs to get us back moving and flowing the way that we're supposed to. And then instead, people see a fucking pothole on the road and they say, fuck it, scrap the whole road. Take it all out. We'll make a whole new road. Man, y'all out y'all's damn mind. I mean, I want to question somebody one day, and I just want to go, where do your loyalties lie? Right? Where do your loyalties lie? Do they lie within yourself or for this country? Because if you're only looking out for the best interests of yourself, like I said, this country, first of all, will never grow if you're only looking out for the best interests of yourself. And I don't give a fuck how many times you say you're looking out for the people just like you. In reality, people on the left are just looking out for themselves because, I mean, you could tell that they try to push it on to like saying, oh, we're looking out for the community, we're looking out for our group, we're looking out for our this, or we're looking out for that. But these are all new movements. They just getting a spark that they needed or whatever to shift the tides, and that's what they're trying to do. But I really I watched those old shows, so I just want to go up to somebody and just like, what are your loyalties lie, boy? Where your loyalties lie? Like, just to see what they say. Because, I mean, 9 out of 10, we are all taught to look out for number one, right? Look out for yourself. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Look out for yourself. And then sometimes it is best to look out for yourself. Don't worry what other people are doing. But when it comes to this country is something we all should be looking out for. Right? When we look at all these other countries and we see how much better we have it than them, we're gonna have to go back and say, look, you want to be like them? Because I'm telling you right now, I'll tell us a million times, me and Trump have something in common. Is if you don't like it here, your ass can leave. We've made it clear. We made it clear. You don't like it, you fucking pack your shit and go. Nobody's forcing you to stay here. Right? As fucked up as that may sound, we're not making you fucking stay here. You either fucking get with the program, fix a few things, and move forward, or get the fuck on, because you're not making it any better. Right? I mean, that's how I'm seeing it. Because if I fucking hated it here, why am I going to stay here? Right? That's like moving. Say you live in a house, right? And the house is falling apart. The roof has got fucking holes in it. Doors fucking hanging off the fucking hinges. People can walk in and out this motherfucker. And you have no glass on the windows. The floor, every time you walk, it looks like a trampoline, right? You wouldn't stay there. You would fucking get up and leave. Find something better. And if you think you found something better, then fucking stay there. Or stay in the house you have. Fix the roof. Put the door back on the hinges. Put some new windows in. Re-nail the fucking floor. Put some sheetrock up. And make this fucking house what it could be. Fix it or leave. And I mean, it's a simple fucking task. And they think they're trying to fix it, but they're not. They're just making things worse. I think that they should step back. Take a moment. Look at where we were. Look at where we're at. Look at where we can be. Take some of the ideas. We could take some ideas from other countries. We're not saying everything that goes on in other countries are bad. And we can use them here. It may take some convincing on certain things. But at least take a moment. Step back. Soak in the air. Look at your phone. And know that you have a lot more freedoms than you have anywhere else in the world. And acknowledge that things may not be perfect, but we have a system that works. It just needs some tweaking. This country is like a guitar, and we're going to have to tune it a little bit. But once we get it tuned, we're going to make sweet music that lasts forever. But look, I've had a great night. And I know, like I said, I know I get off topic, but I enjoy it. I appreciate you coming by and hanging out with me, spending this time with me, and having these conversations. And I really do. But I'm going to go ahead and get off because dinner time will be happening in 4 minutes. And I'm going to sit down and relax for the rest of the night because I have to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work. But I hope you have a good day and a good night. And I will be back on Wednesday for another show. And we'll see where that show takes us. But for tonight, I'm going to have to go. So, I'll see you next time. And this has been the Jose Hall Show. And you already know, nothing's off the table and everything's up for discussion. Let's have a good night. See ya.